We're going to talk about deciphering the strange world of Amazon advertising today. So, self publishing, which a lot of folks here I know have their own small press. So, for you, you have control of the dashboards and such, but obviously, anyone publishing through a small press, your publisher probably hasn't given you the keys to the castle to be able to go into all of the accounts. But when you are self publishing or when you run your imprint, you can uh, treat this like the challenge that it is. Now, I know that writing a book is one thing, publishing a book is one thing, but when you are in this world of formatting, publishing, marketing, some of you probably dozens or hundreds of titles, it can get a little bit overwhelming. And a lot of folks have on this side, I come more from the self publishing side. A lot of these authors have figured this out from the making multiple titles very, very profitable. Now, we're going to focus specifically on the Amazon ads today. And I know various people will have various levels of control on that side. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end for anyone saying, yeah, I can't do that part. So, how can I do this? I'm happy to answer that. Now, I do host a quarterly free challenge, as Jennifer mentioned, and it's basically a very large, thousands and thousands of authors, mostly self published, getting free education on this. I will share a way to get into that after. We're starting another one on April 12th. So, publish once, promote forever. Prior to self publishing and prior to kind of eh, the expansion of many, many small presses, it's difficult to get ongoing promotion for books unless they're already a big hit in the first few months. If it's good, hey, let's keep putting resources into it. If it's not, oh well, we'll get a trip to a couple of bookstores and hope for the best. But nowadays, you've got a lot of these options online, as some of us have been forced into, more so than the past. We've got the paid advertising, we've got email marketing, there's discount promotional things you can do. You can find new readers long after a launch. My bestseller personally is a book that I published in 2012. And so you can continue to send traffic to these older books using Amazon advertising. Now, I've been in this for 10 years. I know some folks have been in here much longer, so I'm a baby to all of you, but I have found that the most affordable way to promote your books every single day, to always be sending potential readers there, is Amazon ads. I'll tell you, it probably gets you more folks in efficiently than a newspaper advertisement, I'll tell you that. But whenever you bring the dollars and cents into the picture, it's difficult to not run into some challenges, especially if from the writing side, if you've always been a words person and you suddenly have to balance the books, it becomes all that more challenging. Now, I know numbers for word people can be scary. To succeed in self publishing and from a bigger scale in small presses, grasping the numbers is helpful, very, very helpful if you've never done it before. You aren't expected to get a degree in math, thankfully, but you will have to push through when some of the figures get hard. And look, these margins are so very small when we're pricing down our ebooks potentially to $2.99 to $3.99. We're spending a couple of bucks to try to even get one reader. So I'm hearing shrieks from there. I don't know how much you can hear them, but I can certainly hear them. So I have a decent mic. Maybe it won't pick up all of it. But I think that when you are working with these kinds of tiny margins, you absolutely need to look at this not as a, Oh, well, we always run this ad. We always do this thing. We always have this built into the budget, but we don't necessarily know how many copies that moved specifically. It's a lot easier to do that in this kind of pay per click advertising space. Now, all I have seen self-published authors who are in their 80s and 90s get this stuff. It took some time, but we are really excited that these resources are available for anyone to do this. So with enough stick-to-itiveness, you can pull it off as well. And I know all the small presses in the room are like, yeah, I know. We have been pulling it off, whatever. But I'll give you some good tips anyway. Don't worry. So when in doubt, it's all about simplification. So I'm going to share numbers. I'm going to share stats from the Amazon ad platform. I'll show you a peek at mine. I'll give you some tips and tricks here for whatever stage you're at. But nothing matters more than turning a profit. I see too many authors certainly looking for the accolades. I want to be that #1 bestseller in my category for 5 seconds so I can take a screenshot. This obviously does not matter. Getting certain promotions, getting certain paid review services, getting all sorts of things you can do. Just because you can do things doesn't mean you should do them. Nothing matters more than turning the profit if you're trying to make this work. Now, here's how I see profit. I see it as higher royalties than ad spend. This concept alone, a lot of individual authors have trouble with, because I will tell you, and maybe I know someone here was saying they were having some trouble with Amazon ads earlier. Amazon ads do not have good tracking. Very, very poor tracking. You could see that you have an ad that says, Brian, you've spent $20 and you've made bupkis. You've made $0. I look at my actual royalties and I've made 40. And I say, how is that possible? It is because the tracking is very, very poor. So I will keep coming back to that because it's important to remember. All that matters is, at the end of the day, did you come out on top? Because it's not going to show you coming out on top on Amazon itself. I don't know completely why, but we can go into that a little more later. Obviously, if you consistently pump if you consistently pump several $100s into a book a month and it only makes you $100, it's not suddenly going to become magically profitable by continuing to pump money into it through Amazon ads. And we can get into a little bit about why that is, but I think y'all probably have a pretty good idea. We've got book designers and cover designers in the room. There's some good ideas as to why a book might not be converting as well. But in this early stage, we're just going to focus on whether or not the ads lead to the profitable results. Here's what you learn: how to run Amazon ads as a self-published author. There's a missing an as in there. I will also go into, if you publish through a small press, how to read the Amazon advertising dashboard, how to create the easiest Amazon ad. We'll also talk about simplifying this understanding in general. Here's what you need. Got the internet browser. I think we all have that if we are on this call, unless you're calling in on a landline somewhere in Minnesota. Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing account if you're trying to do this through the self-publishing side, and the account that you have if you're not, and enough time to watch this video. And yes, there's homework. I always give homework. I have a special assignment for all of y'all at the end. So, and then please focus, patience, and perseverance. I probably shouldn't say this, but I've talked to an Amazon ad rep before, and they've said, I forget how to do this stuff half the time when I'm trying to create the ads. And I'm like, well, if they can't figure it out right away, obviously it's going to take us some stick-to-itiveness to make it happen. Now, what if you're not self-published? What if you're through the small press? What if you are a small press, but don't have access to your Amazon advertising dashboard? There are some workarounds. Some are better than others. One of the workarounds that I give a lot of authors who or work with a small press is to create an account with something called Publish Drive, which I'm going to show off in a little while here. This is just kind of a backdoor. Publish Drive is an ebook aggregator that will let you run Amazon ads through them. Obviously, if you have something like an Amazon seller account, you can also run ads through there. That's a good actual show of hands. How many folks in here self-published? How many folks in here have published with a small press? And how many here are publishers that uh, have access to these kind of materials? I'm interested. All right, awesome. And yeah, you can just type it in the chat. I should have given more instructions there because I can only see 5 people. So, okay, so we have some combinations: publisher with access, self-publish, both small pub and self. So we've got some nice hybrid in here. Access through IPG. Okay, good. Very nice. So it's a real mix. It's a real mix, which is great. Okay. Now, this is a clunky workaround. I don't like it all the time, and a lot of folks do struggle with it, but there is a possibility, just so you know, and I'm saying you're not completely left out if you're with a small press and you want to run ads. But self-published authors, they squeak out a profit with sometimes earning $1 or $2 a book. If your earnings are something closer to 50 cents a copy or less, you might not have the margins. You might not have the potential for profitability that a self-published author would have. And remember, going back to that second or third slide, it's all about the profit. So if you pump money into a book that's never going to make you money, it will probably do the opposite, which is lose you money. We don't want that. If you earn less than that per copy, running Amazon ads to your traditionally published books may not be profitable. If you're not going for profit, that's fine. You're just trying to get Amazon to get your backlist out of print so that you can do other things with it, what have you, but just keep that in mind. So signing into Amazon ads, if you haven't been there in a while, haven't been there ever, we do want to make sure we can get in. So you'll want to sign into your Amazon KDP account or whatever you do have access through. Sign in using the advertising console option. I'm going to show this. Now, some people run into problems, especially when they're trying to create ads internationally. And I'm going to give you kind of a walkthrough of that because every so often Amazon has glitches. Who's ever run into an Amazon glitch? I know I have when trying to publish and trying to advertise, definitely. And so there are glitches from time to time, and I'll walk you through a nice little backdoor method that folks tend to not have too many troubles with when they're trying to put ads in the UK, in Australia, which Amazon does give you the ability to do. So there's a top, this will be easier to show off, but there's top left of the screen, there's 3 horizontal lines, which will get you to billing and payments. So you can say, here's how Amazon is going to take some of my money. And you're going to want to make sure the settings are up to date, or Amazon will give you a big fat red error when you try to run the ad. Now, there are pitfalls when you're trying to get this set up. Sometimes, I don't know why, you can put in your payment info 6 ways till Sunday and it'll still say it's not in there. So we just log out, we log in, we eventually get it through. If you can't log in to the advertising platform and you do have a KDP account or you have access, you can try the backdoor method, which I will demonstrate in a second here. And if Amazon says you can't create an ad for any particular reason, create it in draft form and then get them to call you. It's just the easiest thing if you're running into trouble with this. Now, one thing that a lot of authors of any ilk, you could have 50 books out, and I still see folks running into this problem. My ads I just created aren't showing up. This is essentially the IT version of, did you try turning the computer on, sir? Well, it's essentially making sure you're not searching anything. If you X out of that, then you'll be able to see things. So can you just show me how to do it? Of course, absolutely. So let me go do a new share here. Here's the wonderful Amazon advertising dashboard. Does everybody see it okay? Give a couple of thumbs up. All right, cool. Thank you. So this is my Amazon ad dashboard, but let me show you how I got there. There's two ways, through a KDP account at least. So I click the sign in button at advertising.amazon.com. When I tried to do this earlier, it gave me an error, so hopefully it doesn't. My country, advertising console, and there I am, and there I am inside. But if it suddenly said, no, Brian, you may not pass go, you may not collect, or you may not give me $200, would say Amazon. Here I am in the KDP account. If you're self-published, you know this page quite well. So if I am trying to go to run an ad on one of my books, let's see if I can find one. Here's one of my young adult superhero series. There's a button called promote and advertise. I'm going to go click that. And it gives me a lot of interesting information on this page if you've never seen it. You can run a discount promotion, run an ad, which we'll talk about. But here in this bottom left-hand corner, I find it super interesting. If your book is in Amazon's exclusive Kindle Unlimited, this is the only place where it tells you how many Kindle Unlimited pages it is. It's this random corner of this random page. Don't know why, but it's helpful because in Kindle Unlimited, Amazon actually pays you about a hay penny per page, about 0.43 cents per page. Wahoo. But when you have a lot of books, a lot of series, I do know authors making over $1 million a month from Kindle pages. So it does eventually add up. Let's go back to where we care about. Run an ad campaign. Now, folks just starting out get really excited. I click this. We'll zoom in. Maybe too zoomed in. Let's move over here. Click here and they get super excited because they're like, I can run ads everywhere in the world, to England, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Canada, and Australia. I say you can, but you shouldn't, because when you're just starting out, I really recommend folks just start with the .com. So this is our backdoor way in. Click that .com, click create an ad, and this lets you into the same place. So let's take a look and assume this was a new account. I would go to the top left and I would go to billing and payments. Click there. Nobody steal my credit card, please. I would go to manage payment settings and I would add in my card. You see here that since March 2nd, I've accumulated $258.16 in ad spend. If we go back over here, we can see all sorts of interesting stuff that I'll be going into today. We can see how much I've spent this month, which is $382.52. Now, it says, or I've spent $302.49. Now, it says I've made $382.52 in sales, and you're like, oh, well, that's great. You made 80 bucks. Well, this is the list price. So most of these sales, I'm getting 70% for the ebook, 30% for the paperback. So it would actually be less than $302. But spoiler alert, if we go to favorite place I have to check self-published stats is a site called Book Report, which I now have to log into. And we can see this month's stats. It is crawling the web. But if we compare, maybe, ooh, this is a good idea. We'll save this and it'll be a big cliffhanger for later to see how much money I've actually made this month. So let's go back to the slides. I'll actually take a second. Does anybody have any questions about what they just saw? Some of you may have seen it before. Some of you may have said, no idea. That's a great question, Suzanne. So Book Reports is a site that actually kind of pairs up with Amazon. It goes into your stats, it connects up with your KDP account using a Google Chrome extension. Also use Firefox. It has an extension as well. I'll go back to it. I think it'll spoil my big thing, but what does it matter? It's not like it was a huge amount anyway. But this site will connect up with Kindle Direct Publishing. So it's essentially showing the numbers over from KDP, which everything wants me to sign into today. It's showing the numbers over from here, but it's doing something really nice with the numbers because we have all these unit sales. We have this dollar. We have how many pages read there have been. And we have a total royalty amount. But this royalty amount does not incorporate the money you make off of Kindle Unlimited. Book Report squishes it all together and gives you a nice round dollar amount, which is really helpful. Let's go back to these slides. And I don't bite, so if anyone has any questions, there's no such thing as a dumb question or a question that's too smart. There's no such thing because I will answer them all. But let's progress right now. Oh, it did say I had 107 books. I think it is counting some paperback and ebook editions multiple times. I believe I have about 40 to 50 books published. So it's not actually 107. Though some of you here do have 107 or more books published. So what does it all mean? Well, there's a few important pieces of info to know on the ad dashboard. And there are certain things I would ignore and avoid, like an old crush on the street. I don't know. I would just avoid it. So impressions. When a reader sees your ad in a search, when they see it on a page, when they see it on Amazon, this counts as an impression. And impressions are free on Amazon advertising. Get hundreds of thousands of impressions. We'll have a fun little stat check, see how many impressions I've ever gotten on Amazon ads. It's a lot. And they're free, which is nice. Clicks are when they interact with it. They click on it. They visit your book's sales page. Usually, there are actually some ad types that I don't recommend where a click is not a click. A click is actually something else, which I don't know why they changed the terminology in midstream, but it is true. So when a reader interacts with your ad by clicking on it and they go to your your book's product page, this costs money. So this is based on how much you bid for it. If you say, Amazon, I want to spend 40 cents for a click, you get charged 40 cents or potentially a little bit less. Click-through rate, percentage of clicks you've received based on your number of impressions. This is helpful because Amazon runs on, the term they use is relevancy. Amazon runs on relevancy. If you start promoting your cookbook to Harry Potter books, you will have a lot of impressions and no clicks. So your click-through rate will be a big fat 0. And Amazon will say, this cookbook is not relevant to Harry Potter books. I've been reading Harry Potter to my daughter, so Harry Potter's on the mind. But Amazon will then, using its algorithm, its computer, it will actually stop running your ads. It'll say, these aren't relevant. I'm not going to run these cookbook ads to Harry Potter anymore. And your impressions Number of people who see it, number of people who click on it will go down. This is why it's very important to promote your book to like books, to similar books, to relevant books. Cost per click. This is the average amount you've paid for a click in a particular campaign. Amazon kind of makes it easy to accidentally bid higher than you wanted. And so it's very helpful to look at cost per click in case a sneaky high bid has snuck in there. And we can take a look at that in a second. And then ad spend. Ad spend is how much you've spent on your clicks for a particular campaign or overall. So, as I said earlier, you don't want your ad spend to be higher than your profits. It's funny. Some of you in the room are probably like, well, duh. Trust me, I have met so many people who that is not a no duh moment for, that I have to disclose it or I feel like a bad person. So, finding ad spend on our dashboard. This is one of the few stats I actually trust from Amazon. So, from the Amazon ad dashboard specifically. I mentioned the tracking is not very good. Well, they have to keep track of your ad spend because that's how they make their money, right? So the ad spend is pretty accurate. I do not trust some of the other things on there, as we'll get into. Now, it's really a smart idea to kind of have a system for naming your ads effectively. If you just call them 1, 2, 3, 4, going to be difficult to track them later. I like to use an acronym for the book I'm promoting. For the Dark Souls, the book that I showed, I will use TDS, and I will go into kind of some of my naming conventions when I do my screen share here. But if you do this, or you use Amazon's folder system in ad campaigns, which is known as a portfolio, you can see how much you spent on that particular book. A lot of authors with many books will say, I spent $600, I made $500. Overall, ads don't work. But when you dive into the numbers, you see they actually had 2 or 3 books that were profitable. And so you need to be able to separate things out, or you're going to come to a bad conclusion. Now, if you didn't name your ads well, you can rename them. You can put them all into a portfolio. And I will show you how to do that in a second. So the stats I focus on: ad spend, clicks. If you didn't get clicks, nobody made it. I see people saying, well, Brian, I didn't get any clicks. Do I need to fix my book description? And it's like, well, nobody made it to your page, so we don't really know. We don't have the info we need. Impressions are good to know if your ad is actually serving. If you don't get a few thousand over the course of a week, if you're running a fair number of ads, then they're just not serving very much. It's not the kind of thing where 20 impressions is a lot. You're going to want to see hundreds. You're going to want to see thousands. Click-through rate, as I mentioned, very low click-through rate, like 0, is not going to make Amazon happy. It's not going to serve your ads. But this can vary. This can vary a lot. There's always folks hearing rumors that, oh, we need a certain number. It needs to be 0.1%, or we should turn the ad off. I have an author who I work closely with who has ads that 0.05% click-through rate, and she's making 6 figures a year. There isn't a specific number that things need to meet. A lot of folks just right off the bat say, is this good? Is this good? When I run my challenges, we have to get about 250 posts per day of people saying, here's my stats. Is this good? Well, it's too early. It's just too early to tell. Now, Amazon does not make it easy. There are some flaws that make it difficult to tell if an individual campaign is doing well. If an ad campaign leads to a borrow, it will not show up that somebody borrowed the book. It will only show up that someone has started reading it. Once they start reading it, it does not show if, say, if you're in Kindle Unlimited or you're surfing on Amazon and it says read this book for free. Has anybody seen that? They go on Amazon, it says read this book for free. That means the book is in Kindle Unlimited. Someone clicks read this book for free. 10 people could do that off your Amazon ad. It wouldn't tell you. So we have to really kind of look at this in a different way than just seeing what is each campaign showing. If an ad campaign if a click leads to a sale, there's a significant chance it won't show up on the dashboard. I'll show y'all some info on this. I'll show you some evidence of this for my own books. Amazon ads are pretty much the only thing I use to promote my books. And yet sometimes I have 8 times as many sales as shows up in the dashboard. Sure, random people surfing the web could have found it, but I'm dubious of that. I think that Amazon ads it's tough to track things on the internet, is my opinion, really. And Amazon is doing the best they can, but it just doesn't always work. I have had ads that say $0 in sales that I can prove have earned me thousands of dollars in profit. So I say this, it's funny. I say this in every challenge, and still people come to me and say, my ad says 0, so I turned it off. I'm like, cool. Well, if that's what you want to do, but it's not necessarily the best practice here. Now, I have talked to Amazon ad reps who said, yes, some of these stats are not accurate. So even Amazon kind of knows. So if you look at sales numbers on the ad dashboard and just say, well, it says I made $10, so these ads aren't working. Even Amazon says, probably you shouldn't do that. So just kind of going back over this, we've got a book report. There's also another tool I'll show you in a second, KDP beta dashboard. These are the best ways to tell what you have actually earned. It's inconvenient. So you have to look in these 2 different places. You'd want it to be on one website ideally, but you eventually get the hang. I kind of call it the split screen method, where you can look at both places to get the real numbers. And it's absolutely possible, Ronald says, could it be possible that folks see the ad, go away, come back later so they aren't counted? Sure. It certainly could be. I don't know. And Amazon's never really going to give us that info. So we can only truly speculate. And I speculate that the tracking is just sort of bad, because that's the easiest explanation. And I've seen other instances of that in previous self-publishing endeavors. So this is you talking. I'd love to see these numbers in action. I don't know why I do it like that, but yeah, well, of course, sure, I'm happy to share. So let's go back to the screen. As we can see, this month, $667 earned. Amazon spent $302, but even if you said that these list sales were actually my net at the end, it's still pretty far off from what I actually ended up earning. And so personally, the way I count this and the way that I teach counting this is, let's look at your profit. Which number is higher? 667 is higher than 302. So we win, the ads can continue onward. But let's take a deeper look in here in the ad dashboard. So we have all these numbers. We have impressions and we have clicks. So this is telling me how many people saw my ad on this day in particular. 95,047 people saw my ads. 141 people clicked on those ads. And you can kind of take a look at that every day. If we do a fun little lifetime range of my ads, we'll see 225 million people have seen one of my ads somewhere at some point, 243,000 clicks. So, as you can see, if you stick in this for a while, a lot of folks can see stuff. But it's very helpful to kind of know what we're looking at. So there's other metrics Amazon has that I don't trust really. I don't really trust the number of orders it's tracking, the amount of sales it's tracking, or this thing called advertising cost of sale, which is your gross sales divided by your ad spend. And it isn't really relevant to me at all. So I kind of just ignore it. But if we want to go down and kind of look at an individual campaign, let's actually go with, we will go back to last month because I should have some good data there. So last month we had 3,100 clicks. So let's go see where those clicks came in. Well, I've got a bunch of ads here. Shows when they started, when they ended, my budgets on them. I recommend most people at home start with about a $5 budget, not these $5,000 budgets that I'm sporting here. And then we kind of go into all of these different categories that I mentioned. So we have the impressions and the clicks. I like to sort by which ad. Oh, here comes the daughter. Riley, I'm still doing my presentation, but I'll come and give you a kiss before bed, okay? We'll see if that gets her to not open the door. I don't know. The call is coming from inside the house. Okay. So if I click on clicks twice, it's going to show me them in descending order, and we get to see what got the most clicks. So I can kind of see here what it says is getting the bulk of my orders. And we see these ads here at the top. Looks like this one's particularly pretty good here. We spent $75, but we got $439 in list sales, in gross sales. So let's click in here, kind of take a deeper look. We can always kind of click into an ad looking for this blue hyperlink thing. So I'm going to click in here. And I do see there was something that came in on the chat. So I will answer that in a second, Cindy. But we see now just this particular ad, that time period. Make sure, always like to make sure the date range is the same. So it's apples to apples comparison. 208 clicks, 52,000 impressions. But where did these clicks come from? Well, if I go over to my targeting page, I can actually see what got some of these clicks. And it looks like I'm on an automatic targeting ad, which is one of the ad types. And so I can't really see that much data here. It's telling me that books that were loosely matching or were substitutes for my books, loosely matching search terms related to your book, substitutes, ads that have similar product pages to yours. Who knows how Amazon chooses what's loose and what's a substitute? But this isn't the really important thing here. If we go up here, we go to search terms. I get to see where they came from. So if I zoom in here a little bit, I can see, hey, this writing practice book got a click. Now my cat's meowing to get in. This is hilarious. If I double click on orders here, actually, that'll be better. People who searched sentence starters third grade ordered my book. It's a very similar term, very relevant to go back to the previous terminology. Someone searched this on Amazon. My ad came up, they clicked it, and they bought it. In fact, if I go back over here, I can see I got 2 sales of my book. This is one of those Amazon glitches. Someone I don't think bought 2 copies from one click. But if we say the second one, someone searched writing prompts second on Amazon, we can see that that person went on to buy the book. And so I spent 35 cents and got about $2 and change on that. So pretty good return just for that term. Now, the eventual of Amazon ads is you find all the good terms and you build more ads off of those. But at first, you are kind of flying blind a little bit. You don't know exactly what kind of terms are going to work well. And if I go down here, we can actually see it's not just search terms, it's, hey, someone came off of one of my other books and ended up buying this book instead. Someone was looking at a Kumon writing workbook and went on to buy mine. And so this is kind of where we see folks coming in from. You put the ads up, you try to find these different targets that would fit. I chose on this one, Amazon picks the targets based on my book. And lo and behold, I got some sales. Now, I know Joan, who is actually a student of mine. Good to see you, Joan, answering Cindy's question here. But yes, you can definitely run an ad to a paperback. You can run an ad to a Kindle book separately or together. In fact, I can demo that. I think I might spoil some of my future slides, but who cares? Who am I going to disappoint? Me? No big deal. So I'm going to go to this yellow button that says create campaign. Oh, happy to help, Cindy. Now we have some options here. If I could draw a red X over sponsored brands and a red X over lock screen ads, I would. They're pricey. They're not for people trying to get profit unless they're making $10 every time they get someone to click because they have a 20 book series that's very, very successful. So I want you to imagine the red X here. Everyone post in the chat, I'm imagining a red X over sponsored brands and lock screen. You post, I get 5 posts, I get to continue teaching. So do you imagine the red X over sponsored brands and lock screen? I'm waiting. I can wait all night. Definitely imagining it. Delia, Jennifer's doing it. Great. All caps for Cindy. Laura got it. We've got one more. Megan. Okay, great. Wonderful, everybody. I appreciate you indulging me. But we are going to go into sponsored products here. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And here we go. So this is the campaign screen where all the magic happens. The one thing I'm going to show you here, because I think I'm going to demo this a little bit later, I'm going to show you that when you're picking your books, and this is very interesting. I know some of you folks are doing some self-published and some through a small press. If you're self-published, you will not find your small press books here. It lets you publish the books, only lets you advertise the books you've published through KDP. Possible for the for using Publish Drive, that site I showed earlier. So let's pull in one of my books here that I know I have an ebook and a paperback for. Actually, I have 2 paperback editions of this book. So if I go to, great question, Cindy, and I will answer that in just a second. So I can click add for my ebook and add for my paper, be a part of the same ad, though it's really 2 separate ads. It looks like you're putting them both into one ad, but it doesn't jam pack it with, here's all the books of Brian's you could read. It's kind of 2. But you could run to the ebook and the paperback or just one. It's kind of up to you. Now, Cindy has a great question. What if you have an ebook through KDP, but your paperback is through Ingram Spark, or your paperback is through your publisher? You can't run the ad to it. But this is where it gets a little bit confusing. Someone clicks through. They're on the ebook. They're like, I want the paperback. They click the paperback. They buy the paperback. You're going to find out about it the next time you get your royalty statement from your publisher or the next time you go into Ingram Spark. But you could see a click on your ad and not know that somebody bought. So it gets tough when you're having to check multiple dashboards, multiple platforms, and maybe something you might not even get for a couple of months. You get a click in March and you don't know until June if somebody ended up buying it. That's going to be tough to track. There's no question of that. So let's get back to the old PowerPoint here. So those are the numbers in action. I am happy to show more a little bit later. So whether you are running your first ad or your 100th, I recommend kind of setting up the easy one first. Let's start easy. Let's push the easiest button we have available to us. We don't get many easy buttons these days, so we have to use them when we have them. Automatic ads, like that one I was actually just showing off, it uses your book's metadata, your book's categories, your keywords, and your title to generate those potential advertising targets. Do we know exactly what combination Amazon uses? Of course not. Is it 20% your categories, 10% your keywords? No idea. Amazon might not even be able to tell you at this point. But theoretically, if your metadata is correct, if you've got strong keywords that are relevant to your book, relevant categories, relevant title, this auto ad should do a pretty good job of putting your book in front of relevant books. So, how do you create it? Pick a name with an acronym. Here's one I might use for my box set for my superhero series. TVS, the viral superhero. SPA, sponsored product auto. Hook might be whatever line of copy that I decide to use. You actually have the option of doing copy or no copy. Totally up to you. I tend to use copy because I'm a copywriter, so it fits with my skill sets, but it's not for everybody. And then 35 is the bid that I choose. I say, Amazon, I do not wish to spend more than 35 cents when someone clicks on my ad. So then you pick a budget. Like I said, $5 is good at first. You don't have to be crazy like me. You can pick a duration. So a lot of times during my challenge, I recommend setting a duration of about a month because Amazon is kind of more likely to serve it if they're like, the computer says, oh, this ad's ending soon. Here's our last chance to make money off this person. We better serve this ad. But for you folks, since I'm not going to have lots of points of contact with you, I would recommend doing no end date because you might forget about it the ad might expire if you do not remember to change that end date. You could pick standard if you want no copy. You choose the book, set a bid for, I usually recommend, and this is really becoming more and more across the board. I say here 30, 35 cents, but honestly, if you publish children's or you publish a standalone low price nonfiction, you might want to bid even lower, closer to 15 to 20 cents, because we don't want to overspend here. I always recommend you double check your bid. And Laura's got a good question. Is the bid what you earn or what you spend? The bid is what you spend every time someone clicks on the ad. And so that is your bid. So, and then you earn if someone buys the book. But always double check it. Every week in my course, I am helping people to fix the incorrect dollar amounts they put in for their bid. Amazon doesn't make it easy to double check this unless you are doing it on your own. It's not like, are you sure you meant to change that bid? It doesn't do anything quite like that. I'd like that if they said, hey, did you mean to put $20 in here per click? That would be a very nice warning sign there. And then you click create campaign and you're all set to go. So that's it. Seems simple enough, says you. It really isn't too bad. I will show you creating an ad. And I will answer your question in just a second, Nate. Thank you. I can find my screen. There it is. All right. I move Zoom around. How many people who presented a Zoom like can't get to what they want to get to because Zoom is always in their face? I'm like, I get it. You have a bar here. I'll move the bar, move the people's faces, get out of my way. I'm trying to do a presentation here, people. So we go to Amazon advertising, and let's go back to how we get there. Just as a reminder, when you're on your Amazon ad dashboard, click create campaign. The big yellowy button that we've come to know and love, hate on Amazon itself. Love it when something's on sale, hate it when it's way too much money. Anyway, we're going to do sponsored products because we're remembering the X's, right? Over sponsored brand and lock screen. Continue. So we want to give it an acronym. We'll remember. I'll do my superhero series, TDS, The Dark Souls, SPA for auto-targeted, and we'll do it with no copy and just 35 cents here. So if I wanted to put it into a folder, I could put it into one of my portfolios. I have one for that book. So I'll put it into that folder there. End date, I'll leave it blank for now. Daily budget, 5 smackaroos. Gonna keep it at automatic targeting here. Take care, Joan. Good to see you. Automatic targeting automatically gives you something I don't want, which is, I imagine this is someone whispering in a dark alley. Hey, I could increase your bid 100% if you want. It'll show more clicks. I'm like, no, that's okay, weird guy in the alley. I'm going to go with dynamic bids down only, which means this is me when I give a class at 8 o'clock, honestly. But I'm going to go with dynamic bids down only, which means I will spend the amount I set or less. Now, this is a good time to address Nate's question. What are the benefits of spending more or less in a bid? Spending more usually does allow Amazon to serve it more because it's kind of like an auction. You bid 30 cents, someone bids 31 cents. Half of Amazon's placement is, hey, 31 is more than 30. Let's show the 31 book. But eventually relevancy plays a role as well. Because if the 30-cent book is a lot more relevant, eventually Amazon will start to show that book, even though it's at a lower bid. And because relevancy is such a key part of this, I always recommend the lower bids. The other benefit of spending less, you can make a profit off of less. If you bid too high, you can't make a profit. If profit isn't the goal, that's fine. How many people here, profit is the goal? I'm interested. You can post it in the chat. Yes, I want to make money off of my books. That is the number one chief aim. Because, and Lynn says, absolutely. I will answer that question, Jennifer, for sure. Cindy, yes, wants to earn back. Colin, yes. Suzanne, I have to make money. Yep, you, me both. So as a result, I keep it low. Agreed with you, Delia. Money's definitely not a 4-letter word. So I keep those bids low. I'm going to make this a standard ad, which means I don't need to write any ad copy for it. It makes this extra little setting. I have found no use for this. I'll just call it ad group Z. And now I'm going to go find my book. I have self-published this, so it will show up. I'm going to go with the ebook version and just go with that. And we'll keep going down. Now, the default bid is higher than I would like it to be. I would like it to be 35 cents. So I'm going to change it to that. We don't need to worry about set bids by targeting group. We also don't need to worry about negative targeting, but I'll tell you what it is. Negative targeting is if you know there is a book related that will show up alongside yours probably that you do not want to target. For instance, I know in self-publishing, urban fantasy and reverse harem are both kind of parts of this same genre, but a lot of urban fantasy authors don't want to be targeted to these reverse harem books because they're very, very different subgenres. And so you might put in reverse harem in the negative keyword targeting so that Amazon doesn't show your book to these reverse harem books. And honestly, we could click launch campaign here and we would have it. And we would have, oh, that totally makes sense, Jennifer. Jennifer reverse targets Narnia because there's the name Narnia. So yes, you don't want to have all your books showing up on something unrelated. But before I click launch campaign, I'm going to double check everything. We always want to double check. Is the name good? I'm happy with the name. Portfolio, good. Start and end date, good. Daily budget, 5. I didn't accidentally put 5 million, so that's good. Automatic targeting, it's what I want. I don't want to listen to the guy whispering in the alley, so dynamic bids down only. I'm going with standard, which means no copy. If I wanted to do copy, have to be 150 characters. I can go a little slower, Jill. Sorry about that. 150 characters or fewer, not 150 words. 150 characters or fewer is the ad copy. Let's go back to the top. Campaign name, portfolio, start and end date, and the daily budget. And I'm sure Mippa will be sharing the replay of this. I know that it is recording, so don't worry. You'll have the ability to start and stop. And of course, I'll share all my slides and all of that good stuff too. I'm going to pick automatic targeting here. And we are going to pick dynamic bids down only because we want to pay that amount or less. We do not want to pay more. Ad format, I have the choice between custom text, with copy, or standard. For the purposes of being easy, going with standard here. Ad group name, I have not seen this matter much. So then you pick your book. You search, find your book. If you only have a few books, it's pretty easy. You can just kind of scroll down. And then you'll click the add button, bring that in to your ad. And you will change the default bid to a more reasonable, more likely to be profitable amount of 35 cents. Negative targeting, you don't have to use when you're just starting out, but if you have a Narnia situation, you might want to plug that in. And when you're done, click that wonderful yellow button, launch campaign, and there it is. So, Jennifer, when it comes down to it, it gets a little complicated to answer these questions because every book has its own different rate at which it converts. Conversion rate is determined by how many clicks it takes to make a sale. Some of my books are pretty profitable. I know that I can, if I went and looked at last month and I look at my ad dashboard for, look at this nice congratulations message. Doesn't that just make you feel good? So we go over to campaigns and we look at last month. And great. So I'm going to put in one of my better converting books, Sizzling Synopsis. So these ad campaigns had 146 clicks last month. And I logged, let's keep going down here, 103 sales. So if we were to do the math here, we divide the number of clicks which now I can't remember, 146. I knew it was 140 something. 146 divided by, here comes the kid, divided by 103. Hey, Missy, do you want to give me a hug? Come on. Come on. She's getting ready for bed, so I had to give her a little kiss here. But you want to head back with mommy? Well, I'm going to be done in a little bit, and I'll come give you a kiss, okay? You go back, okay? I'm leaving everybody waiting. You head back, okay? You can put your head down here for a second if you be quiet. Okay. Awesome. So, we had 146, and we're going to divide that by 103. 103 equals 1.417 clicks to get one sale. This is a book that I could bid a little bit higher on because I know it's very profitable. I think $290 spent, $290 earned on $65 spent. I could bid a little higher for that. But what if we have an ad? My daughter's like, oh, wow. But what if you're my daughter? What daughter? Ugh, she's trying to make me seem like a fraud here. So if I use one of my less profitable books, like Dark Souls is actually less profitable. So if I go to the Dark Souls, I can see that I spent $18. Riley, that's the end of the minute, okay? You head back, okay? I got to finish my class or I can't give you that kiss and hug a little later. Well, Riley, you know that it's bedtime. One more minute, but then you let mommy pick you up and take you out, okay? Yes? Constant negotiation here. Okay. So if we have the Dark Souls, which is a lot farther down here, we see that we sold one copy and had some Kindle Unlimited pages read. So we made $11.56. We made $11.56, but we spent 18. So we had a loss at about that 35 cent range. Now, if we were to go into the conversion rate, I know just off the top of my head, this is about 7 people reading the book cover to cover. So we have 9 sales total with the 2 sales, 7 people reading it cover to cover. And if we go to the ad dashboard, we can see that I had 138 clicks. So she stayed out for over an hour. That's pretty good, honestly, for a 4-year-old. 138 clicks divided by those 9 sales is 15.33 clicks to get one sale. One Sal. My dad's name is Saul. One sale. So if you are looking to kind of figure out the bid range, you need to determine, well, is this book worth bidding higher on? Do I need to actually bid lower to make this profitable? I could bid probably a little higher on the book that's converting very well. I like to shoot for 6 or below on this conversion. But I can't really increase that bid on the 15.33 because it just takes too many clicks. And if I'm spending 15.3 clicks, I'm spending 35 cents a click. I have to spend $5.36 to get a sale of what is actually a $2.99 ebook. Those numbers are not going to work out. Does that make sense, Jennifer? Perfect. Awesome. Yes, Joe, when I say 6 or below, I'm shooting for 6 clicks to get one sale. That's what I'm shooting for my books. If a book is a higher price, you might be able to get away with a different, like 10 clicks. You want it to be low, like golf. So now, how does the 35 cent or some other amount affect what Amazon does? If you bid lower, you might get fewer clicks and impressions, at least at first, while Amazon determines if your book is relevant or not. And then a lot of people say, well, I guess I should just increase my bid. Well, what if you have a situation like my Dark Souls book where it's not going to be profitable even at 35 cents and you bump it to 60 cents? Will it suddenly become more profitable? No, it will become less profitable because you're spending more money to get the attention on it. Does that make sense? Why we bid low? Why we don't just bid up through the roof to get as many impressions and clicks as possible? Awesome. Perfecto. All right, let's go to the conclusion. It's going to be my daughter playing a clarinet solo or something. So we want to prove that there's profit. Authors, oh, thanks, Paul. I'm glad that's helpful. Authors have tried and tried and tried to say, well, Amazon says I have no sales and Amazon says I have a certain amount of clicks, and it's just a losing game. The best way is to look at royalties, compare it to ad spend, look at conversion by seeing how many clicks it takes to get a sale, looking at it from the top down. Oh, thank you, Tom. Looking at it from the top down is going to be better than trying to look at every individual ad, because it's just not going to work. Now, if you notice that royalties are higher than ad spend, I consider that profitable. I see all these folks in my group posting caveats like, well, using Brian's method, it says that I made $40. But if I look at the Amazon numbers, I'm like, stop you there. Just don't look at the Amazon numbers to figure this out, because they're just all over the place. Glad I could help, Cindy. So the stats to focus on: get the ad spend, get the royalties. That's what you need. As I mentioned earlier, if you had higher royalties than ad spend, you've turned the profit. And the best recommendation I have for you when you are turning a profit is to run more ads at the same bids to try to create more profit. Now, I think this is just one of the only tests that matters. I have talked to hundreds of authors, probably now thousands since this slide was originally written, who turned off ads when their books were profitable, when their ads were profitable. And that just hurts me, because it's one of my goals to make sure nobody in the world of authoring leaves money on the table. Could have sold more books, could have made profit, could have made ends meet. I want you to do that. So before you assess anything else, you just need to know how to calculate that profit. So I'm going to speed ahead a little because we've gone a little longer here. It wasn't because of the interruptions. It's just because I'm slow. But double check. If you lost money, double check everything. Give it a little bit of time if you do have books in Kindle Unlimited, because you have to wait to get paid on those until people actually pick up the dang book and read it. So you may have to wait a little bit to see if it's profitable. If you don't have profit after all of that, then you are going to want to make some more ads to get that conversion rate number. If you're starting to get clicks, you can kind of decrease that bid a little bit. If you start with too low a bid, then Amazon sometimes won't serve your ad to begin with. But if it starts going already, like it has that momentum, you can start to drop it down slowly but surely. And once you get more clicks, you can drop it down even more. I've seen children's books actually serve with Amazon ads at 12 cents, which is lower. It's pretty low, but for children's books, those totally work. We don't want to shut ads off until we get enough data. That conversion rate data I shared with you was based on over 100 clicks. If we don't have enough click data, then we don't really know. It's like you're looking at too small a sample size. We want more data. So, how do you improve the conversion? Here are a few of my best tips. You can lower the price. You can add a subtitle. If a book's already published, you can't really change the subtitle for the paperback because of the ISBN connected up with it. But if you've self-published, you can change a subtitle all day long. Maybe not all day. Amazon would be like, why do you keep changing this title every hour? You can do a better book description, go get more customer reviews, which is always fun to track down people and get more reviews. The most inconvenient is kind of starting from scratch. The title and the cover were bad, so scrap those, bring something new in. It's inconvenient, but sometimes that's the best thing. So, Colin, 10 to 50 clicks over the course of a couple weeks, I would say, because you want some time to have elapsed. I'm not going to walk through the screen share of all what I would fix because I want to give you guys some time for questions at the end. But like I said, I really want to make sure that the folks of you who are self-published, obviously you small presses know this. It's a business. It's not this magical art form or something. It can be both, but the numbers need to match up at the end of the day. Amazon ads are confusing, but they're a really nice window into getting low cost traffic, low cost potential buyers toward your books. Now, I would love for you to keep learning on this, to keep growing on this, because like I said, the Amazon ad person said, I keep, I forget stuff from time to time. So you want to keep working on this. If this was the first time you saw this, I would definitely keep playing here. So eventually the goal is to create dozens and dozens of ads. I think I have 400 ads actively running now, and all time I've run over 1,300. And that's just one fella over here. I know for those of you who represent multiple authors, it's going to be a lot different. Here is that homework I was talking about. Everyone who left early, they were just trying to get away from the homework. I know how it works. They don't have anywhere to be. So I'd like you to write down the answer to these questions in your homework assignment. So feel free to share this with everyone, Susanna, Jennifer. So how are the concepts you learned today different from how you used to look at Amazon ads? If you ever had known much about them, how might this change the way you approach the platform differently going forward? It's an easy ones. So please answer these two questions, and I would like you to email them to me at briandavidcohen@gmail.com with the subject line MIPA 2021 homework. And so those two questions, answer them, and I will respond. Unless nobody sends me anything, at which case I will not respond to the vacuum of email. So I want to thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this. I didn't record it. You guys recorded it. But it's a strange time in our world still. So it's a good time to learn these new skills if they're new to you. If you do decide, hey, I kind of liked Brian, or he's tolerable, you could go to the 5-day Amazon Ad Profit Challenge Facebook group. I'll post a link in the chat later, just a free Facebook group. And I also have a book marketing podcast every week. If you listen to podcasts, it's the Sell More Book Show podcast. We've done 362 consecutive weeks. So we're going on 7 good years here. So have a great rest of your 2020 and beyond. And I am happy to answer questions. I know there were a few in the chat here, but thanks everybody. This has been a lot of fun. So I can look back and make sure I've got everybody's questions dealt with here. Okay, I think that's about it. Jennifer, this is kind of a follow-up on yours, but I always recommend folks start at about 35 cents, or if they're a standalone, 30 cents, because you don't have any potential read through to go to a second book or a third book. So chances are your opportunity for profit's a little bit lower. And don't worry, I'm not drinking coffee. I'm not going to be up all night. It's cocoa. All right. So let's keep going down. When Amazon says, here is a book we thought you'd like, is that because that book has an ad? Amazon used to, I was just doing a story on this on my podcast. Amazon used to only say recommendations when there was a book that was similar, when the algorithm determined it was a relevant book. That is no longer the case. A lot of the time, we thought you might like this book is an ad. Now, those, let's go find this again. You can actually see this when you're looking at a book on Amazon. If you scroll down, books you may like, this is not an ad. Products related to this ad that says sponsored with a little I, this is an ad. These are all ads. I'm even advertising on my own book. And if we go to search for my book, the first two things we see are ads. Sponsored, sponsored. And then there's me. Why do I advertise on my own books? Because I want to steal these spots from people who are trying to steal my search away from me. So hope that answers your question, Lynn. Suzanne asks, I've always wondered how long someone has to look at an ad for it to be an impression. I'm pretty sure it's just a split second, Suzanne. I'm pretty sure. I don't think Amazon is parsing number of seconds here. Do you put up ads for forthcoming books? You can. But pre-orders are less likely to convert because people want to see those reviews, and the pre-orders don't usually have reviews. So I usually don't unless it's part of a strategy that I'm using. Glad you found it helpful. Linda, Karen, Megan. Hooray. Cindy went from confused about the mystery to feeling confident. That is awesome.
I'd like to ask a question about analytics, if I could.
Absolutely, Colin.
So I've just started out with Amazon ads, and then I'm also doing BookBub ads, and as you say, the margins are really slim, and I find myself obsessing over the little details. I use Publisher Rocket to get keywords, and then on BookBub, I'm constantly changing between authors to target and seeing when my click-through rate goes up and when it goes down, and it's starting to control my life. How do you decide how often to go in and change things and pay attention to those analytics?
Believe you me, I have been where you are. Because it's this thing is spending my money. I have to watch it like a hawk. So and especially when you're running on two different platforms at once. So I would say that in these early stages, you do probably have to look at it more frequently, at least several times a week. But you need to put a time cap on it, is really what it comes down to. You say, I'm not going to look at this for more than 20 minutes. I'm not going to look at this for the rest of the day, because otherwise it is going to take over your life. But I will say it's very tough to run multiple ad platforms at the same time for the very reasons that I shared, like my conversion rate, my way of calculating conversion rate. Because if you're running ads from BookBub and you're getting clicks, and you're running ads from Amazon and you're getting clicks, theoretically, these clicks are not necessarily of the same value, but because it's so hard to attribute, well, which sales came from BookBub and which sales came from Amazon ads. And any kind of tracking, BookBub, affiliate tracking, Amazon has, are not perfect by any means. It can be really hard to figure that. But yes, time cap, 20 minutes. I like to use eggtimer.com with a little dot after the E, 15 minutes, and it will, well, now it will. It will tell you, you better stop. The chicken's going to come out of the egg or something, and you won't be able to do it anymore. But that is my suggestion. Happy to answer any other questions.
Can I ask one?
Absolutely.
Early on, I think you lost me a little bit because my books are sold through a distributor who sends them off to Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Ingram and everybody else. And
Yes.
so I'm not using KDP. You suggested I could do something with another organization. Is that, could you talk a little bit about that and whether that's, that works or not?
Absolutely. So I actually have, if I can find them, I have a couple of walkthrough videos on Loom that on Publish Drive. I just need to search and see what we've got here. So this is a video walkthrough of Publish Drive that I'm happy to let y'all take a look at. Essentially, Publish Drive has a couple of different services attached to them. They are an ebook aggregator, so you could actually publish a book through Publish Drive, but your book does not need to be published through Publish Drive in order to run ads, because they'll let you run ads on anything. And so when you are in Publish Drive, see if I can remember my password. It's spinning. I'm in, thank goodness. Okay, so when we're in Publish Drive, believe it's been a little bit. I'm going to go to promotions. When I go to promotions, it says, hey, you want to make an Amazon ad? This is not the person whispering, but I really just heard it in that alley voice. So we see Amazon ads here, and it's very similar terminology. You see you have spend and sales and orders and impressions. I ran an ad here recently. Actually, it was probably the ad I set up during this very walkthrough video. And you can see it got a few clicks. It got some impressions. So it ran ads to, I just picked a book at random from my catalog through Publish Drive. You could put in your book's Amazon number, because every book has an Amazon number when it's on Amazon, and you would be able to run the ads to that book. You just kind of have to watch the walkthrough video. It'll kind of walk you through how it looks a little bit different, but I'll tell you, it's always going to come down to the profit for me. If the books that you have distributed are not earning you enough per copy to make it worthwhile, then I would just make sure you know, okay, profit is not the goal here. But if profit is the goal, then you're probably going to have to bid pretty low to have a chance of succeeding on it. But yes, it is a different dashboard entirely. So it will take a little bit of getting used to, but I mean, like the button's blue instead of yellow. It's like a whole thing. Colin has a question. Do you pay a subscription fee for Publish Drive? No, I do not. This is available without, it's a company. So it's going to say, hey, do you want to do your sign up for Publish Drive's whatever program? You don't need to use that. I just go in for free. I haven't paid Publish Drive a dime other than funding my ad, because you have to fund your ad ahead of time on Publish Drive. And then these 3 clicks that they spent. So, but hopefully the video is helpful. Honestly, you can email me if you have questions about it.